Do you
playlist
guys
for
want to-
sure.
Katie, do you want me to schedule the 2 o'clock with Todd Thompson?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay,
Yes.
he said yes, so I'll go ahead
Okay.
and do it.
Great, great.
Is that 2 o'clock your time or our time?
Yeah, 2 o'clock my time.
11 our
So
time.
that's after Craig. That's after Craig.
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Right.
Greg.
So let me start with something just mundane. Okay.
Yes.
Just about presentations.
Mhm.
So the presentation is a story. Is you're telling a story.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much of this was talked about in class because I just go to the okay. So pretty much any presentation should tell a story. I mean, it's even a technical presentation, and for that matter, you know, there's information you want to convey, and you need to know what that information is that you're going to convey, and then you find a story to tell to convey that information. Right. So I'm assuming, again, I haven't seen all the materials, that you're basically recapping the week and talking about what you ended up with.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
want to use a persona, don't we, Craig? We want to say a cultural geography teacher named Dee Dee.
Well,
And-
the story is your story,
okay.
right? We started 2 years ago in the education department of Stanford looking at X, Y, and Z. And we started at a film festival for high school students in Ohio. And we came together. I don't know if you did, Jack, what your, if you have a film background or something, but you have some background in this too, right? So you have 3 diverse backgrounds coming together to see if we can make it work, right?
Right.
So that's part, you know, then you came together for the class, and you had 500 interviews ahead of time. You came together for the class, and you started looking at ways to combine your collective knowledge and focus it to come up with a crisp definition of a product. And you had this great idea, and you had that great idea, and you had this great idea, and that great idea. Then you got out of the building, and you started to talk to people, and this idea was confirmed, and this idea was blown up, and we realized that we're going 17 different directions, and yada yada yada, and ultimately here we are. Okay, and you talk about your ups and downs and things you learned along the way, and you can also share things you learned about the process. Right? Wow, getting out of the building allowed us to look objectively at our ideas because people kept telling us this, and we wouldn't have known that had we not gotten out of the building. Things like that. So you can talk about what you've learned in the class as well.
Should we include video, like short clips of interviews or like studies we've done, experiments we've done, or is that too much?
I think it's going to be very technically difficult to do that in a presentation. You know, there's always some hiccups and stuff like that. You want to keep it kind of simple.
Keep it
Okay.
simple.
But if you think there's something that like tells your story in video that wouldn't tell your video people, right? So,
Right.
so there's something to be said for telling stories in video. But if you, there's no video required for this class, is there?
No.
No.
Okay,
No.
because in the 10-week version, there's a video that goes along with it, 2-minute video that goes along with it. But how long do you have to present?
8 minutes.
8 minutes. Does that include Q&A, or they're stopping
There's no
us?
Q-
Right.
There's no Q&A. There's just straight 8 minutes. That's it. You're just presenting.
And unlike the last 4 days, it's all yours. So remember I said the other day, you know, you're not going to get interrupted. This is your chance to just tell your story. So
It is. I've been doing the research on it. It is exactly that. It's kind of, you know, where did we start? What did we learn? You know, and where are we going kind of thing. You know, at the end, what did we come out with? You know, as far as the future. So yeah.
okay.
Did Jinwoo send out did he send out an email for today or no?
I haven't seen it yet, but
have
I
the
haven't checked in the
syllabus.
last hour.
Oh, okay. I'll
Okay.
look at the syllabus.
Now think when you're storytelling, think not of a movie or a book. Maybe, you know, the same principle applies, but think about someone sitting around the fireplace, right? Telling a story, you know, they're talking and they're controlling everything that's going on in the heads of the people around the fireplace, right? So it's a manipulation in a sense,
Yeah.
right? They hear only what you want them to hear. Now, when we get into visual arts, it's harder because there's lots of things that they can see that you don't necessarily want them to see. So in cinematography, what do? You put it out of focus, right? So you literally focus only on the person or the scene, the part of the scene that you want someone to see. The common mistake in presentations is you put a whole bunch of information on. You put the entire business model canvas up there and say, see? And so what's the reader going to do? They're going to start squinting at the screen and trying to read every last word of it, and you've lost them. Right? You're not controlling their minds anymore. You know, it's not like the Outer Limits or something like that.
Right.
For those of you who remember the Outer Limits. And for those of you who haven't seen the Outer Limits, which would probably be Jack, you should go see it.
Okay.
It's great old television.
I don't think I've seen any of them.
Even before my time. Oh, it's right up there with the Twilight Zone. Anyhow,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
so the idea is big text for and call outs and things like that for what you want someone to see. Almost unreadable or completely unreadable for the stuff that you don't want them to see. Make it grayed out, whatever it is, because otherwise you're not controlling them. They're wandering. So that's the most now sometimes you want to say something like, we collected a lot of data. Fine, put all the data up on the screen, tons of it, but enough that it's not readable. Make it an eye chart. Don't make it something that someone's even tempted to read. Then you're telling the story of, we collected a lot of data without distracting them with the actual data itself. All right, so someone has a question?
My question is, I'm imagining we still show the entire canvas, or do we present one piece at a time that we're talking about?
I mean, the canvas, again, what's the story? The story is, here's our value proposition. Value proposition in context is part of the canvas. So show the whole canvas, gray it out, then have a call out box for value proposition in big text. So people have both the context that is part of the business model canvas, as well as focusing their attention on the parts you want to read. So if you were in the regular class, then the 10-week class, then someone would have talked about call outs and stuff like that. But that's but I mean, they all come back to this basic principle of you focusing their attention on what you want their attention to be on.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is no expository text, very distracting. People will not hear a word you're saying because they'll be trying to read it. I mean, if you have a quote, that's fine. It's, a brief, not a long meandering quote, a brief quote. Yeah, we've had programs like that and they didn't work, or that kind of length. Because that people can read without being highly distracted from what you're saying. It's like if it's a we went we've tried numerous programs like that and we've had mixed results. Some of them worked out well and some of them didn't work out well. But the ones that had video were the most effective. We tried several things. ... The ones that had video were the most effective. So crisp and to the point.
Mm-hmm.
It makes an enormous difference in terms of the impact of the presentation.
Okay. That's super helpful.
Okay.
So
just think about that. And also, if you have images in there, if you can go if you can redo the business model canvas on the template, that it's good. It makes it look like you're part of the class, everyone's doing the same thing in the class. It will be more readable if it's in, PowerPoint or something, or not PowerPoint, but not Pages.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not. What I'm doing, Craig, just so you feel comfortable, and just to say, and I'm building it on Keynote because I have an Apple, and change it into a PowerPoint, and the PowerPoint uploads into the Google Slides, and that's.
If you're going from Keynote to PowerPoint to Google, it's going to be a mess.
But it's more of a mess. No, it's what we've been doing. It's what works. It's more of a mess to actually do it on the Google Slides. It's a
mess. I mean, your slides have been almost unreadable.
Still, I mean, Jack, do you see them as unreadable?
I thought our presentation yesterday was pretty good. Like just the slides were
better yesterday. It was.
It was clear.
Because I presented, so I thought they were clear.
this right now, what we're looking at is a keynote slide. How does that look, Craig?
I can't read anything on it.
It's blurry.
Well, it's very small, and I'm not in play. Here it is in play. There.
Yeah, no, it's nothing's readable on it.
Yeah, it's not readable. Yeah.
I can make out value propositions, but I can't read anything. If it's anything smaller than that, I can't read it.
I mean, this is the template I think that Jack, you gave me, and well, golly, I don't know.
But
Maybe
for some reason it's still blurry. I don't know why.
it's very small, and it's in a gray print. Which
No, but even value propositions.
okay, even value proposition.
It's doing something. It's doing something called anti-aliasing around the edges of the characters, and that makes it blurry. There's something wrong. It's like it's not grayscale. It's something else.
But Craig, we can break this up into, as long as we use the right terms, etc. from the canvas, we could break it up into different slides, right? Addressing your key partners or key activities. We can make those separate slides. We can break it apart, correct? We would still be speaking the same language.
So
Where that blue box is, you could if you look at some of the presentations if you look at almost any of the presentations from previous years, you'll see examples of the business model callouts.
And so what we would do is put the shape on and
But you can even like have a little itty bitty tiny, business model canvas in the lower left-hand corner, like, tiny, just enough to see it's the business model canvas, and then have a little like call out, like a little talk thing in a cartoon, and then say value proposition and what you want to say.
I see.
Katie, if you want to let me share my screen, we could see if it's more clear.
Yeah, here let's do that.
The other thing, Katie, I don't know what kind of screen you have. Do you have a high resolution screen?
I believe so. So. Because there was
HD?
one that was
Yeah.
let's see, make host. There you go, Jack. And show us how does that look?
What island is that?
That's
Probably
Catalina.
Oh,
Let's see, Jack. You don't have that, but you can show us yesterday's. This is yesterday's. Great.
See, this is is this clear?
It's loading.
yeah.
Flip a couple slides. Is that off Google? Yeah, that's clear.
This is better. Much, much better.
Okay.
I can read every letter on there.
Right.
Where's that? Yeah, let's just do it on Google Slides, Katie. Is that okay?
And I think there's something with Katie's computer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe your monitor's set up funny or whatever.
Yeah,
But
I bought it used. Maybe he planted something in it.
it's a Mac, right?
It's a Mac.
Are you just working off the display in the Mac, or is there some other? Are you using
Well,
another
what
display?
you just said, I was on the display in the Mac, right? I was in Keynote, and
Yeah, hard to diagnose in that case, but there's something funky going on there.
something with my kernels, maybe. How are my kernels?
No, there's a bunch of screen resolution settings in Apple that it's not hard to get it wrong, but that's my guess. But
Okay.
probably better just to let Jack present, since we have a working model.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But this also is not the business model canvas quite, right? Because you've got
Right.
the value proposition. Yeah.
I was
It's not
just
laid out
starting to
right.
rebuild that. So we could still rebuild on the presentation that I'd begun. We can build that, and I could upload it. Well, you're saying that's what worked yesterday. This is built in Keynote and uploaded and transferred to PowerPoint and uploaded to Google Slides.
I thought we just did it on Google Slides, Katie.
We did some on Google Slides, but it's really hard. It's not dexterous at all. It's hard to manipulate. It's hard to
Yeah. People generally use those templates and just put them up on Google Slides. Is there
Yeah, that's what
We're
I
just
do.
using a white, you did, we're just using a white screen instead of, we can select the template together.
But I mean, there's template. Jack found it yesterday. The template's on the Google
Yeah,
Drive.
I have all the templates. Yeah,
So
template.
just take some time and put things in those templates. It'll look better.
Okay.
And like I said, it makes it seem like you're part of the class as opposed to, as
Okay, well,
opposed
just
to
this
like,
one thing, you're saying that the rest of the presentation looked fine, didn't it? It was clear,
right. But again, to my original point, you put up that business model canvas, you put up the business model canvas that everyone recognizes and everyone doesn't know what has to think, right? So
yes,
that's the business model. You put
completely.
this up and people go,
We agree.
wait, something doesn't look right, right? And now you've lost them.
So
So
that's feedback to the class when we start. Package the curriculum in a sense. So give us these things instead of send us looking in the
yeah, this is the first time it's been taught. It's the first time it's a 5-day session. Give the feedback, but it's
okay.
this is the first time it's been taught this like this exclusively on Zoom. There's a lot of things that are
First time, okay, but that
yeah. I mean, usually it takes a couple days to sort those things out, but you're halfway through the class. This you're taking a couple days to sort things out.
I hear that completely, and keep it clean. But we do want the entire.
Also, keep in mind there's almost one faculty or equivalent for every student, and it's all volunteer. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, now that's amazing. That's amazing that there's so many mentors and so many people with it's an enormous feat.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think you got my point on how to put all the presentation and packaging and everything together.
Should we keep the colors separate, or should we just make it all black letters?
Well, again, back to your story, right? Well, I mean, the easiest to read is, by the way, I still don't like the bold for whatever reason, but the easiest thing to read is a higher contrast. So the less contrast you have, the harder it is to read. But are you having people read it? Or are you having people, just sort of get a sense for it? So if the colors can communicate something, also keep in mind some people are colorblind, so be careful about just using colors.
Oh yeah,
especially red green. But so like crossing through is good. Crossing through and red reinforces it. What was I saying? The black or other color, it's part of your story, right? So if you're going to start off with, here was our business model canvas to begin with, then just show it in black. Make it, say this is what you started with. When you get to the end and say this is what we ended up with, maybe just have that in black. And in between, if you're trying to show markup, I mean, I don't know if that's your best tool for showing the markup, but if you want to show markup, then just make it look like chaos, because then people will get the feel for the amount of thought process that was going into all the decisions you were making.
Right.
So the choice of color and what you present, what you show crossed out and not, when you're presenting in class, the purpose of the business model canvas was to tell the class, here's what I learned since yesterday. And what you learned is bad idea crossed out, good idea, in green, new good idea. So that was part of the message, and the colors and all that were just a tool to communicate the message. For your final presentation, the message is different.
Right. Is it okay? Is it okay at the end to have like the challenges that are ahead, or what we see?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And you can say, what your plans are in terms of pursuing it. If you don't say it, Steve will probably ask it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So you can end with, our plans are to do X, Y, Z.
Mm-hmm.
So if you said we should kind of show like all our thinking and crossing out stuff, is it okay if we just cross out a lot of stuff from this and put that in, and then have our final business model right after this? That's like all black and white. Do you think we should do that?
It's totally up to how you want to tell your story. That's perfectly valid what you just described, though.
Okay.
But again, you don't have to go too crazy on the business model canvas. I mean, you heard Steve. You just flipped that to the next slide. Steve loved that slide, right?
You did, yeah.
Yeah. So when Steve loves a slide, by the way, you're putting that slide here in your presentation.
Oh, yeah. Can we reflect on what Steve said Um, I'd love to hear that again. So you love this slide.
Yeah.
Good. Things that we've been doing.
It's a little hard to read. I mean, where do you want my attention?
I think the seven schools, and it is hard. Should we bullet point it?
Yeah, something. Yeah.
Okay.
What special shows mean? I didn't.
Special shows means, okay, features when I invite people to for a special event, for instance, a reunion show, or a filmmaker is going to be present, so come to this one.
So what's that have to do with the rest of the slide?
Well, these are like boosts. These are special shows that bring customers. So when I do
Okay, the part I focused on was the pilot part.
Right.
But so special shows is just one part of customer acquisition strategy.
it's one
It has
one
the
part.
biggest. It's the biggest highlight on this slide. It's the one thing people will read that first and wonder what that means.
Okay.
What I think you're saying is you have. I mean, I'm not even sure how the slide is organized, right? Is social media 1, pandemic pro bono screenings 2, early adopter sign up 3, pilot 4, teacher referrals 6?
Mhm.
I mean, are these all?
These were all
I-
mechanisms to get customers. And
Right.
so the special shows should go in there, and that's when people came, and that was actually when I did more of a marketing push for these special shows and not the regular day-to-day screening. That was
Okay,
the
so
reason.
is your customer acquisition strategy all of these?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
We could do like a list 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, I think that we should do pilot / teacher referrals, leave the 7 out until the last slide or whatever it is. And it's kind of our successes, that's going to, drive us forward. And there we say, we're really happy. We got 7 schools to agree to pilot, which is our jumping off point now, moving forward. But I don't know if I would reveal the 7 yet until I think there should be a special slide, of kind of like positive things that came out of it, and then the things that we still need to work towards, or whatever our challenges are.
Okay.
I don't know that we need to put the 7 here right now.
No, I think that's good. I mean, that seems your customer acquisition strategy is always, or one aspect of your customer acquisition strategy is always working,
Mhm.
right? So, but also keep in mind the reader. What does this have to do with aircraft? You're talking about pilots, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
If you're not in academia,
Clarify.
you won't know what that means.
Correct.
So, pandemic
Pilot
360 pro bono screenings with activities.
I mean,
What does
Did
that mean?
have-
I don't know
Well,
what that means, and
I had quotes around it, but I took the quotes off because it you see there and I kept it in the other one. I was inconsistent. Pandemic Screen 360 is what I've been calling the Screen 360 TV offering during the pandemic. It's just
I think that
okay. Screenings during pandemic,
yes,
parenthesis, quote, pandemic 360.
and-
Or free screenings during pandemic, quote, pandemic 360.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, the information on the slide's phenomenal, but it just needs to be tweaked so that the person reading it will consume it better. And then
Okay.
special shows, that little thing should go away.
Should go
I mean,
away.
if you-
Okay.
If anything, you put that thing around that 7.
Okay.
And that might be something that comes up as you flip through. Like you might actually create 2 slides, one without the 7, one with the 7. Then you flip and the 7 comes up, and you can talk about. We already have 7 pilots. The
Right.
reason that's important is that nothing makes its way into the school mass market until it's piloted. The best material for a referral is a pilot, a
Mhm.
successful pilot.
Okay.
So I mean, to me that's a huge point. That's like bells going off and
So
fireworks.
that's a reveal. So second page reveal. So we do this
You-
in 2
You
slides.
can't. It's up to you. But I mean, that's whoever's talking to the slide. might want to do it that way. That's if I were doing it, that's how I do it. That's my
Okay.
style. But I mean, it has to fit your style.
Mhm.
All right. All right.
I this seems like something that would be a tiny part. You know, shrink it down, put it on the last slide, and tie it to Pandemic 360 or something like that.
Okay.
Right? Because you see, look at the slide. It's like that's nice. I
Mhm.
learned nothing from that slide. So make it as a visual. Like the last slide, kind of boring. This would be a really nice visual to add to that slide.
Mhm.
Or even if you break it up into the last slide into a couple of slides. You know, you have whatever it may be.
Okay.
But yes, not its own slide.
No. Okay.
Because this, Katie don't you have a story to say with this? If we're doing
Yes.
storytelling.
This is an example of the class that worked with us during the Pandemic 360. It came on 3 times, and then I gave them homework, and they came back and showed me their Rube Goldberg machines, and the teacher was very happy to see them so engaged in building it. I sent a film, and they sent me back films.
So is this a pilot?
It is,
Sort-
yeah, it's sort
No,
of.
no, I'm saying you have to tie it to your business model canvas. You have to tie it to the class. This is
Okay.
very nice. Why is it relevant? You didn't tell me why it's relevant.
Yes, it's an example of our pilot of what we want to do.
Okay, so let's just go back to the last slide a second. Okay, so you have a slide that talks about, this slide cleaned up, right? You do the reveal on the 7 pilots, and then you say, or maybe either, or maybe you just make a slide on pilots and say, we have 7 pilots so far on the left-hand side of the screen. On the right-hand side of the screen, you have that picture, and then you say, here's an example of what a pilot looks like.
Mhm.
Right? And say we had a pilot with this class. We did blah blah blah, and we followed up with blah blah blah, and our result was we now have a referral from that teacher with the pros and cons of using this approach or something like that. We can now take that to other teachers to, one, get more pilots, and 2, to show the effectiveness of the course.
Good idea. Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Mhm.
So again, then it becomes part of the business model canvas or customer acquisition strategy, as opposed to just a nice story.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
This
Sure.
is your MVP. I kind of feel like should be up earlier.
Okay.
And by the way, it shouldn't say, I wouldn't say channels on it. I would say MVP.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
Right.
I agree.
And then put like a box around or something so you know it's on the webpage. I don't know, something. But it's fine. Just change channels to MVP. Again, a lot of words. MVP, screen room with embedded Zoom. Get rid of the
Don't-
words.
Yeah, we
Get rid
don't
of
need.
the words. Just
Don't
say
have to-
MVP.
MVP. Yeah, that's good.
This is one of those data charts that says we did a lot of analysis. So everyone goes, cool, they did a lot of analysis. What's the 1 or 2 most important points on here?
I sent you that. There was a small clip of just the license uptake table and the prices, and then there was
I
the
saw
large.
that. I saw the 2. I didn't know what to do with it.
Oh,
So what's
sorry.
your? I saw the data, but what's your point? What's the point you have?
Well, my question
What did you?
which one to put up? Do you want to see all of it?
No, my question is which of these 17 different things that you could do are you doing?
That's exactly
All of them.
my question. So I think we should just put up the license prices.
No, forget about that. What are you doing? Forget about this. What did this teach you in terms of, oh, we're going to do K through 12 licensing, or we're going to do single classroom licensing, or which area you're focused on? What's your actual revenue when you get started? So you did all the analysis, and you did comparative analysis. We can do this, we can do that. We can do single class, we can slice school licenses, we can do classroom, we can do online school. What you want to have at the top of this is point to the one that you chose.
Okay.
Okay.
Right?
So in the bubble, we should say our main focus up there.
Right, and this shouldn't be a thought.
Or what you could do is, have this slide and then have a reveal and highlight the ones that you,
Right.
or gray out everything that you rejected and
Mhm.
say, we found the ones you're doing are single classroom homeschools, right? And private schools, right? That was your initial, if I'm not mistaken, or do you have something else?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so this says K through 12 school licenses. You can show this, and then you highlight those and say, K to 12 school license is private, right? Single classroom, and then online schools in secondary and middle and primary, or actually, I think you said secondary, right? Not K to
Well, we
12,
said we were going for private high school. Yeah,
right, which is the secondary.
secondary.
Yeah, private secondary, yeah.
So go secondary and then say private in there, and then people can say, wow, they looked at all these different options and they honed in on secondary private. Awesome, because that's exactly what you're supposed to be doing, is
Okay.
doing the analysis. Based on the analysis, make a decision. The decision you made is secondary private. Awesome.
And we have
And then-
two.
Should we say like do a graph and then say language AP teachers and then say the teachers that are piloting too?
No, I don't think so.
We
Well,
should.
you mean on the pilot part, or are you?
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know if they're gonna be paying, but
Well, at some point you have, yeah. I mean, what's your revenue model when you launch, right? If you're doing the piloting, kind of is a the customers we talk about customer acquisition. There's usually like customer acquisition cost, and that's
Right.
something that happens that gets you to your product, but your product is kind of more the what comes after that, right? So if you're doing a marketing campaign, or that's not really part of your product, that's just customer acquisition.
mhm.
So the question is, who are the customers you're going after? The customers you're going after are the secondary private, right?
Right.
And so the
Right.
piloting is kind of distinct from that.
Well-
Obviously, you're going to pilot with secondary private if that's what you're targeting, or maybe you're not. Maybe you could maybe you can pilot in public school and then sell into private schools. That's I don't know what works there, but
Well, I think we're going to.
but the two are kind of distinct.
We're
What's that?
we're going to. We're
Oh,
going.
my wife says pilot and private, and she's a
Pilot-
private school teacher. So
Yeah.
You'll get better response.
you'll get better response. They're not as busy. They're not as they're
And
not
they're
as
more picky.
did you hear that? I don't know. She said they're more picky. There you go. You can call that another interview.
Picky.
She
Thank
says they're
you.
more picky. No, you can't actually. They're more picky. They have more time available because they're not going to have as many
And higher
students they're going to have to
standards.
support. And she also says they have higher standards.
She's a public school teacher.
Private school teacher.
She's a private school teacher. Okay. So
Well, no, because the student to teacher ratio, if you've got 35 kids, you're not going to be putting as much intention into a private as if you have 20 kids.
okay,
I think
I
that's-
need to
Anyhow,
say something.
digress.
I need to say something here.
Yeah.
So I just want to be clear that we're going forward with both the homeschool and the private high school pilot.
that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. But I'm just saying to reflect whatever it is that you're doing on the slides that you're presenting.
Okay.
And again, this so you're doing a B2B and a B2C. So it might be worthwhile having a slide to transition saying we're doing a B2B and a B2C. Just because and B2C, who's the consumer? Is it the teacher? Is it the parent? You might want to make that clear.
Okay, yeah.
Here's where we need to talk about this a little bit, Jack, because I think we're overlapping. The the single classroom homeschool does compensate for households. And
Mhm.
so the consumer here, then, who is a consumer? Any individual? Is that grandparents maybe who would want to buy a subscription but don't necessarily have a homeschool? Is that who you're thinking?
Yeah, or just parents or individuals separate from schools.
Separate from schools. Okay. How do we, um, uh, yeah, how do we keep it distinct? Do we need to keep it distinct? Why can't it, if the revenue model is cheaper, it's only what 12 times $70 a year, then how do we sell a $200 subscription to a homeschool or a single classroom?
Well,
All right,
we talked
I don't want to get in. I don't take don't take this time to worry
Okay.
about that.
Okay. Well,
So
it's a
so what I
slide.
see on this slide is you have B2C, and then you have $1,500 per year for schools that have access to all classrooms. That's that was I would consider that B2B,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what I would do is I would be before you know, so I mean I think what you have on here is revenue models. Your B2B model is, I'm sorry, your B2C is individual subscriptions, $5 per month. Your
Mm-hmm.
B2C model is staff development, boarding, whatever, $1,500 per year per school, two models. But
Okay.
show them, you know, show them like that. And then the films divided into categories and curriculum and all that doesn't have anything to do with the revenue model. Interesting, but not part of the revenue model. So, you know, if you just make it crisp like that, here we're going after, we're doing both, you know, it's the same product. So we can get, so you don't have to develop two products to go after two different markets. You're going to go after two of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then explain why. Why aren't you just going after one of them?
That's
Why aren't
always
you
a
just-
question. It's been a question to me constantly, and I'm always told to go after one market. And it's I agree. You could go off after.
Well, then say it's perfectly valid to say we're 5 days in and we haven't fully decided, but we've narrowed it down to these two.
Okay.
Okay,
Right?
that's
We might
good.
go after both. We might go after one. We don't know yet, but we've narrowed it down to these two. That's okay. It's 5 days in. You know, it's not like you're supposed to, you know, be going doing your initial public offering on Saturday. Okay, this feels like it should go much earlier, right? Lot of words.
Yeah, I think the feedback we got from Steve yesterday was to, you know, shorten that bullet there, that, you know, that bubble there, and have fewer words in there. So synthesize that piece.
Yeah, he said make it more specific so it's like it's
Mhm.
achievable. I think,
Mhm.
like with numbers.
And
Yeah.
show how we did it, I guess, because I think each one of these sort of points to what we've an action item, right?
Yeah,
Right.
I think he asked how do we measure cultural literacy and how would we measure that in the students we are servicing. So we could say we measure that by our discussion or something like that.
Okay.
So
I think these are the components to the program, right? I mean, to the product. You know, that all our products will have this in mind, right? These are the action items of the product.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think what we need to synthesize is the hypothesis.
so
Yeah.
this is not a hypothesis. These are hypotheses, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Which has to be digital, it has to be global, it has to be recognized that we're connected. Well, that's kind of, so I you know, the hypotheses are things that you are testing along the way. So this is more like,
Our mission statement.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But we have
So-
too many words in that box. We have too many words in the box.
So your goal is to create global citizens with empathy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you can narrow it down to some catchphrase like that, you know, through film, you know, well, I mean, building global, you sort of start, right? You want to build global citizens through empathy. You believe film is the way to, an online film experience is a way to, with lots of support materials, a way to do it, that kind of thing. Students face an increasingly globalized world. In some ways, that's a counter argument because that implies they're exposed globally, even though, right?
But
I mean,
say that again.
well, I mean, it's like if we're more globalized, that means people have more exposure to other people, not less.
Mm-hmm.
So, is the fact that we're in a globalized world the motivation for this? You mean, I guess people can't live in their own, maybe it is. I mean, people can't live in their own little bubble.
It's to engage everyone in. I'm sorry. I'm feeling. I've talked about it so much. I've got to.
I think
Right, we're kind of down to the elevator pitch side of it. But by the way, I don't know if this point was made. This is not a pitch for your product. This is a story of your how you got through the class. How that.
Okay, that's good.
So you don't have to. It's not like there's an audience of venture capitalists. This is not that pitch.
Even though there is one speaking afterwards. Right.
Yeah, you actually lose points with VC. So there's the saying with venture capitalists: you go for advice, you get money. If you go for money, you get advice.
Right.
So, you don't win any points by giving a pitch, either with a class or with a venture capitalist. You'll listen to the venture capitalist at the end, and then he or she will tell you how to make the. I think it's she, right? What's doing it? She will tell you. Yeah. She will tell you what you need to do to go out and get money. Mm-hmm. All right. So the first part is background, not a hypothesis or context, and then you say art. So that sounds like the kind of thing that's better to just talk to, right? I mean, you can say those words, but it's better to say them than having them on the chart. I mean, there's nothing wrong with what you have there other than the fact that it's a lot of words on a chart. So maybe add it to your script or something. Okay. And then your hypothesis are the bullet items. Mm-hmm. Although it's kind of a mix, right? Mm-hmm. One hypothesis is film is the way to reach kids, right? Mm-hmm. And you can say that's been confirmed by prior research. So you can say it's or you maybe have three sections. So contact, maybe the green bubble you talk to, and then you have what we know, 500 interviews plus research prior to the class. We know film is an effective tool for reaching kids, but and also like it has to be global. It doesn't have to be global. So that's not a hypothesis. That's just a mission statement, right?
Right. Okay.
It has to be recognized and more connected forever. Now, is that a goal for the students to recognize, or is that a goal for the people who are going to adopt it to recognize?
Adopt both. Yeah.
Okay, so we want the student, or okay, so for this product to be successful, people need to recognize. I'm again a lot of words, but it has to be cultivated with authentic desire to support educational cultural literacy. Is that something you found prior to the class, or is that something you are attempting? Because again, the hypotheses are things you're going to test during the class.
Right.
Yeah, we tested that.
We tested that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. And then, so the other thing you can do is you could do the reveal, saying these are the things we tested going into the class, and then go ding, 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 and check them off, right? Mm-hmm. In a reveal. It has to be recognized that multilingual, empathetic, and curious learners are cornerstones of healthy society, and all developing citizens have the capacity to contribute. That sounds like 2 points, but right, the and part. And it has to be recognized,
Mm-hmm.
Is that
something that Steve Weinstein said yesterday, that they felt like we were telling them what to do. And
Right, right.
right. What was it that he said exactly?
He said we're marketing the way we market our business is that we are telling the customers what they need instead of doing what the customers would, instead
Need.
of focusing on what the customer actually wants or can't live
Right.
without.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So what I would say is, you know, and a hypothesis, just to sort of tweak this as hypothesis, I would say teachers recognize they need tools to teach multilingual, empathetic, and curious learners
Mm-hmm.
to build a healthy society.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
teachers want to, well, I'm not trying to tie the second part in this, but teachers want to use their classrooms to create multilingual, empathetic, curious learners and a healthy society, or something like that.
Okay.
And do teachers care? Yes, you found out that teachers do care,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the hypothesis is confirmed. So the hypothesis is that, you know what I'm saying?
Teachers.
It then becomes more of a hypothesis as opposed to
just a statement.
A problem.
Yeah.
This is kind of a problem statement as opposed to a hypothesis.
Okay.
So yeah, I think you've got a lot of good material on the slide, but I think it needs to be tweaked.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think Steve said lots of words on this slide.
He said it was an eye chart, I think, or something.
Right,
like
that's what he means. Oh yeah, I was going to explain what
Oh,
eye chart
what
is.
does that mean? Tell us.
Eye chart means it's testing your ability to see as opposed to conveying information, right? And so an eye chart is a any kind of chart with tiny little text, lots of tiny little text.
Yeah.
So that's the term for it. It's an eye chart.
Right.
So,
okay.
Again, gains, providing immersive curriculum and material for authentic cross-cultural education that affects the isolation of breeds.
How do you say that in two words?
Reduces xenophobia and racism.
Okay.
Craig, we've been having a discussion about those words, and I'm wondering amongst mentors and teaching team, if you've been having a conversation or been hearing from them, and I think maybe that's also what might have put off Tom. Just they have a hard time hearing those words, but
yeah, what Tom wasn't getting was that you actually were further along than I think he realized you were.
Mm-hmm.
So when you said you were getting feedback from teachers, he didn't realize the strength of the signal you were getting, because typically in a business environment, right, you go in and say, do you like this? And people say, yeah, that sounds great, goodbye. And that's what he was reflecting in his answer to that question, as opposed to, yes, I'll pilot it, which is a very different signal from a teacher.
Yeah.
And so he didn't understand sort of where you were in it. So don't worry about that.
Okay.
That's the point though, is when you talk about the signals you get from people, how do you know that it's a real signal as opposed to a polite signal? Because people generally are polite, and that's and what you really want is honesty, but what you get is politeness. So you have to sort between the two.
Right. Okay.
All right. So your game creator is provides children cross-cultural experience through film.
Okay.
And your gain is increased empathy and reduced xenophobia and racism.
Okay.
And
arrows.
That's for the students. For the this is more, I see this as a teacher one. Teacher is curriculum and materials for cross-cultural education. The gains is a prepackaged, easy to use, effective curriculum, or effective, the gains are easy to use tool. Well, that's the Queen creators. Give me a second here.
Okay, we can.
Yeah, it's like a ready easy teaching methods for empathy and xenophobia. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, easy, accessible. Yeah.
But the curating curriculum for them, that's what you're doing, not really the gain. The gain is, successful accomplishment of cross-cultural education.
Right, right.
Because their pain is that they don't have any tools to teach this, and you're relieving it by, providing, tested, packaged solutions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we're doing very specifically is helping language teachers who already do this to an extent to help them inform other teachers and and how to use film in their classrooms. Maybe that's a different, as I say it feels like a different thing, but we are trying to get it out of the silo.
Their pain?
Their pain is inability to share with authentic language speakers, and also finding authentic curriculum that is given to them, because a lot of them have to go out and search, and then they have to pre-screen it themselves and then come up with all these questions.
That's
So their pain is it's impractical to deliver effective cross-cultural education.
Yeah.
And your pain reliever is easy to use, pre-packaged, tested curriculum for
that adhere
easy
to
to
common
use,
core
easy to share, maybe.
Yeah, all those things.
Yeah, what another teacher will say is, oh, that's her class, she gets to do fun stuff, and I'm going to do another kind of fun thing in my class, rather than this is valuable in my class, let's look at this film and pick it apart from my for my learning goals. It's another teacher.
Yeah, so I mean, the pain, the gain should be worded in the form of, it would be great if curating curriculum is not a sentence, right? It would be great if I had materials to blah, blah, blah. The pain is I don't have materials to do blah, blah, blah. Or the materials I get, yes, I don't have the time to develop. That's a perfect one. I don't have time is probably first on the list.
Right.
Yeah.
And your pain reliever is it's pre-packaged and ready to go. Perfect.
Good.
Okay. Just have a couple more minutes. I think we both have hard stops at 11. So
yeah.
Okay. So
slide. Too many words.
Still an eye chart here.
Yeah. Too many words.
Would you pilot? What you really want them to say is, well, teachers drive access, teachers drive content, the mission of school. So what I would do is if you want to make it, what you can is you can make all this so small it's unreadable, and just say yes. Test. Just say test. Would you pilot? And then you have pilot popping up and down through the presentation. You might want to pull it all together, right? So we talked about piloting earlier, 7 pilots and so forth. This slide should go with that. Why piloting is important. And then you have the pilot that you actually did, right? So you need to talk about why it's important that they pilot. You talk about why it is that they will pilot, and then that they then you actually talk about a pilot. Or maybe you start with here's why it's important we pilot, here's what a pilot looks like, and oh yes, we have 7 pilots. Whatever order works for you, but those seem like they go together. But I would, it's just very distracting, all that stuff on there. Shrink it all down and just say yes.
Okay.
Something like that.
And here's the video I'm talking about. We have like a short video that we could play.
Great. How long is short?
It's one.
I'll play it for you right now.
Go ahead.
1 minute and a half.
How do you think maybe these films influenced your life?
And it gives you a feeling that the way you live isn't the only way possible. That there are other ways to think about life, and even to make movies. And
in general, I think that international films will have an impact on the way children look at the world.
Too long, not much impact, not enough impact. I think.
What about just the first one?
I was thinking about that. Cut it off.
We can do
So
that.
if say here's an example of what it yes.
Just show
Just show one interaction with one person.
Just
Just to
Felix.
say, here's an example, right? But why is it important?
Because it's the outcome. He is the young man that I followed for 10 years, and I interviewed him about how these international films, watching international films in childhood, influenced his life so far. And so this comment saying it shows you how you're not the only one in the world, that your
Okay,
life.
so this was you started 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been following Felix for 10 years. He's been using this program. Here's how he feels about it. Click. Well,
Yeah.
what he says, then stop, right?
Yeah.
And if the video doesn't work, do not spend a lot of time fumbling with it trying to get it to work. Just say, well, video's not working, but Felix told us, and then talk about what he told us. You don't want to put a minute and a half of anything into.
Okay. One statement is good.
I'll stop it there.
Okay.
And then here's our competition.
Yeah, if you could make this look like the regular charts, that would be fine. Don't waste a lot of time on it, but
Are the regular charts accessible?
yes, they're on the same templates that Jack found for the business model canvas.
Okay.
The pedal chart.
But this was a lot of work. Why can't it not work?
What's that?
No, I was just saying all you have to do is copy the logos and paste it onto the pedal chart, and the other department. It should take 2 minutes if everything works out. Anyhow, don't waste time on it. What do you want to say in this chart?
I don't think we need it because this is the final presentation. I mean, I think that was at the beginning.
No, well, what's your competitive landscape though?
Okay.
It shows that we're different than all these other. That's why we should include it just for like a brief statement.
Well, everyone's pedal chart always shows that they're different. But why? How do you if you were to give me 30 seconds on why you're different, why are you different?
We include filmmaker interviews, and we engage with international peers for conversations following each film.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so nobody else has the combination of content targeted towards children, content targeted towards global relations, whatever, and nobody has the academic component of interaction following the film.
Okay.
Correct. Not virtually, no.
Right. So the movie has foreign films. YouTube has everything. K-12 has children focused content.
Mhm.
Nobody else uses this kind of material for this purpose with all the tools of a classroom. That's all you have to say.
Okay.
But it's good to know. But it's always good to know that you're looking at your competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, again, if you're going to have to run through it, and you're going to get cut off at 8 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have to be extremely, if even scripted, to the point where you're not going to run over.
Should we time ourselves before?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Practice it and time it.
Okay.
Now, some people actually speed up when they're, in the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
So some people talk more in the heat of the moment.
Right.
Yeah.
So
people
you have to be
don't.
careful. What's that?
Some
you've got
people
11
don't. I stutter.
Right. You've got,
Please.
it's better to come in under than get cut off.
Yeah. No, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Then someone might ask a question. You've got to go and I've got to go. So
Good. Thank you, Craig.
I'll see you tonight. And if you
See you
poke
tonight.
me in the meantime if you need something, if a question.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye.